I'd like to call the August 15th Committee of the Whole meeting to order. It is now 6:02 p.m. and I will ask Ms. Henry to call the roll, please.
Alderman Walters.
Not here.
Alderman Scott.
Here.
Alderman Azier.
Here.
Alderman Hayden.
Here.
Alderman Myers.
Here.
Alderman Emerson.
Here.
Alderman Garza.
Here.
Alderman Van Buskert.
I am present.
Alderman Mims.
She'll be here shortly.
Alderman Krizak.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. First up is the August 1st, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Have you looked them over? Hear a motion? So moved by Ms. Emerson, second by Mr. Scott. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Alderman Emerson. Alderman Emerson.
She just asked Ms. Emerson.
Sorry. Yes.
Alderman Scott.
Yes.
Alderman Mims is still absent. Alderman Krizak.
Yes.
Alderman Hayden.
Yes.
Alderman Van Buskert.
Yes.
Alderman Azier.
Yes.
Alderman Myers.
Yes.
Alderman Garza.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. First thing up, fiscal year 2023-2024 department budget presentation, community development. Diane Egger. You would turn on your mic. I'm not sure what's going on with the board here.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Alderman. So the budget that is presented to you this evening, as you can see, there's a few changes, not a lot, but a few changes. We have the personnel changes from the salary study and also the hiring of me. We do have a permit tech position that is not funded right now. So we will, and maybe not funded is not the correct word, it is not filled. So that's some of the changes in the personnel. If you look down at uniforms, we had changes in the uniforms. We have an additional code officer. We had 3, we have 4. So that little bump in price of $700 will just be boots and clothes for the additional code officer. And also I think front office staff would like to have uniforms. And so we'll see a slight increase in uniforms. Then the next change for postage, postage went up from 63 cents to 66 cents. We have code enforcement and rental inspections that sends out letters. This postage cost is reflected in this upcharge, which would be about 400 pieces additional of mailing. And then the weeds and brush, the nuisance abatement, we've asked for 15,000 more for the weed and brush abatement program. And that is because we would anticipate abating more properties, cutting more grass and picking up more trash. I have a few programs that hopefully this year we're going to roll out, like focusing on a neighborhood in each ward and having all the code officers focus in an area, writing up, doing some proactive enforcement. And so we would see an increase in the abatement cost. So that's what that's reflected. The next is asking for $10,000 more for the minor home repair program. Right now we have $40,000. We're slated to do, we were in the contract 8 homes. We think we're going to be doing 9. We have 3 complete, 3 almost complete, and then 3 others waiting for some paperwork. So we think we'll do 9, 1 more than what we did that was slated in the contract. So that's good news. And this additional 10, hopefully it'll get us 3 new homes. So we'll have like 12 total homes for the home repair program. So that would be good. That's what that's reflecting. The general nuisance we've added, and that's $5,000, and that is for the towing of nuisance vehicles, non-operable vehicles. We towed 1 in March, and they're about $200 a piece. This would give us 25 for the year, and that's for the most egregious, not just somebody that has a flat tire, not just somebody that's working with us, but we've had cars sitting out for years. And so that's what that is slated for. And so we would be able to tow 25 of those. And then in the computer services, there's, so the right-hand column, $1,800, $4,000, that has been moved over. What was failed to move over just accidentally is $5,000, and it's for iPad maintenance. And that's a fee that the finance department says that we need to keep. And so in last year's budget, it was moved over, so that should stay. So 5,000 should stay for iPad maintenance. Right underneath that is Energov, and that is yearly maintenance for Energov. And that's the system that we do all of our online permitting now, business licensing and code enforcement. And that's the yearly recurring cost. The $30,000 additional Energov IT is a one-time cost. And that is for IT for Energov. We have permit techs and myself that we're trying to write programs and streamline. We just don't have the skills to do that. So that $30,000 will get us biweekly check-ins with their company. So they will contact us twice a week. They will write unlimited configurations for us. They will have help with code updates, user setups, custom fields, workflows, all of that. And it's a one-time cost. I don't anticipating needing this year or next year, but this year we need to get the program and the system running correctly. And we just don't have the knowledge of the system and the IT staff to do that. So that's what that's for, but it is a one-time cost this year. And that are all the changes, and I will stand for any questions that you might have.
Before we go to questions, Miss Henry, just so you know, Mr. Walters made it in at 6:05 and Miss Mims made it in at 6:08. They are present.
Mayor, may I add to Diane's portion? She wasn't here last year, but one of the deals that you had with a minor home repair, I know some of you that were here, you remember a couple of years back where we didn't have any applicants. Now we're at a point where we have a list of applicants. That is a very good change for us. And it was about 2 years in a row that we were looking at that funding and working with them. It's a program where we provide some of the funding, and then Habitat for Humanity provides some of the funding. So that's part of what Diane and her crew, I shouldn't say team, not crew, sorry, have done on helping people to get the application and get them done to where we have more people applying for it, which is a good thing.
Ms. Emerson.
Thank you. On your one-time fee of the $30,000 for IT, now that will not be in the budget next year?
That's right.
Thank you.
Ms. Hayden.
On the towing of the nuisance vehicles, what was it before? I mean, what did that go under before? Or
We didn't do it.
You didn't do it?
We did not do that.
Okay, so this money
knew.
is set aside just so that you can just take care of it,
Yes.
get rid of it. and
Yes,
get it
ma'am.
out the way.
Yes.
Just right.
I'm just curious, what is the Missouri Lawyers Media? What is that?
Missouri, what page are you on under? Is this education and training?
It's a what?
Is it under education and training?
It's on printing and promotions.
And promotions. Oh, the certified notifications?
Yeah, it's just $1,250. I was just curious what it was.
Business. No, this is business license. The certificate, he's talking about business. So the certifications are publications, which he was for the planning commission meetings and stuff, but what you're talking about, the business license, those are letters that go out to businesses.
Okay.
Yeah, to renewals and notices. So
All right,
that's
thank you.
postage for that. Yeah.
I was just
And printing for that, yes.
Anybody else? Thank you, Diane. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Capital sales tax, Damon.
This must be what I get from that. Capital sales tax. Public Works would do the portion, his portion next as well. But citywide, so you have citywide, a capital sales tax. Let me start with the front portion. You notice that our total revenues projected, and budget is 1.3 million. Total expenditures, we're looking at 1.8, which would dip into our fund balance of about 400,000 if we do all the projects themselves. We have a total fund balance of about $1 million, which is what we try to keep in there, maybe 6 months to a year. Typically, if with our sales tax, their capital, that's about 1.3 to 1.4 for sales tax that we get each year, revenue wise. So that's when we use, when I say citywide, everything except for parks. The first one is citywide. That goes back to the court security improvements around with replacing the railing on the east side of City Hall, and then landscaping around City Hall. That's where the court security improvements, that's what we talked about earlier about what we have to do in the front and improvement wise. The other one is the railing. If you come out this door, it's a black railing that's in the front on the side. It's starting to erode away from just over years being there. And so it needs to be replaced. The other one is landscaping. The landscaping around the sides in the area. We want to remove it, put something in. Parks and Rec will work with us on it, along with doing the maintenance still going therefore more forward from it. These are estimated costs of what it could cost in order to do that. Other areas up near the front, you have a couple of areas that needs to be more maintained with the landscaping area. So the next one is capital expenditures for admin side. It's our workstation replacement program along with our server and the security hardware. The workstations and monitors that we replace, those are the amounts. So we get 12 this year. I think we did about similar amount last year. And we typically try to take them in and out of use and go from there. The other one is the wired network switches that we buy each year. And then the last one is a new one is a Swagit streaming upgrade. We would need to be ADA compliant with our Swagit streaming. Streaming is what we do when we do all these meetings live and stream them live. Well, we were not ADA compliant. And this year we have to be in ADA compliance for the hearing impaired. And that's an upgrade from the system that we had before. So the next one is the police. As far as their capital expenditures, you have workstation replacement down there, along with their patrol car replacement program. You see, we separate the actual vehicle purchase with the actual upfitting. Upfitting is one that we've had some. Is that the one business that was in town that did quite a bit of it for us up to the past 2 years has went out of business, and so we found another company that's been doing it for us, and it's been doing a good job for us. The other one is investigation vehicle. Not as much upfitting is required with investigation vehicle as the other ones. A network server and then Panasonic books. So pretty straightforward, along with the uniform body armor. And that is a replacement program as well. And the last ones, I'll let Rob can talk about his portion on the public works side. But on the other side with community development, the counter remodel in the front, we wanted to be able to have people to be able to sit there and actually do their work and work with people. Right now, a person would come up front, grab a permit or do something like that, then the person has to wait and kind of go back and forth. So we're doing some small remodels to allow them to have a protected area, but also an area space to work together. And the other one is replacement of the vehicle, the animal control van. The van is not in compliance currently. It has we call it a bread truck. Is kind of give you a similarity. It's all one area. It should be replaced to where it's separate areas was required by state. So that then so you don't have to use a cage, but you have to have a upfitting to allow it to be an animal control vehicle. And that upfitting is the next portion of that. So that's about it.
Anyone? Let's see. Bill Van Buskirk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Mr. Hodges. Appreciate the information. I did have one question, and under the miscellaneous category for fire district reimbursement. What? And there's been nothing as far as dollar wise in that for the past several years. What is that there for? Why is that category there out of curiosity?
Okay, on the revenue side. I would just say, well, it hasn't been fire district reimbursement. I think it was something that was there before, after we did the refinance of the TIF.
Refinance?
Yeah, well, at one point, the fire district, I guess, was doing something. I'm not sure exactly what that funding is from, but at one point, it was there for us to get a reimbursement and no longer take that reimbursement or even receive a reimbursement.
Okay, I was just curious since the category was there, but
Yeah.
dollars. But, it's brought up.
And I mean, with revenue items, if they've been in the budget before, we typically keep that category because that account may have a number with it. And so they could show the history of it.
It's probably not in this category, but are we still selling fuel to the fire district?
No.
They reimburse us for not doing that?
No.
Okay, just curious about that. Thank you.
I believe that's it. Rob Camp, you got for us? Sitting off far back there.
Well, it's a captive audience.
Man, you all that have your mics on, a couple times I've heard some pops, stuff like that, unless you're ready to speak, thank you.
I'm just gonna continue on with the capital expenditures on the sales tax of Public Works. The first one on there is the French drain in the Sally Port. That's in the police garage. There's a drain there that's been plugged up for quite some time. We try to get someone out there to clean out the line, but it's plugged up, needs to be replaced. So that's why it's on the facility side. Public Works is in charge of facilities, so that kind of goes underneath our line item, even though that's in the police area. But since it's a facility issue, it's underneath the Public Works capital process. The next project is the stormwater culvert construction near the dog park. If you guys are aware, there is a dog park that's being built where the old splash pad is at. Now, the current grant money for that dog park does not address the stormwater issue that is there and also the sanitary sewer that is there. Now, the reason why it's not addressed in that, it's the grant is through FHA loan or an FHA grant, which has a lot of environmental testings in that, and it was just too much for them to adhere to that to include these utilities. So I worked with Parks and we decided to close the stormwater. If you ever been there in that parking lot, there's that open drain that's right there. What we're going to do is we're going to close that up so the parking and everything would look good for the new dog park that's there. So that's what that project is going to fix. Now, I will be bringing to you the design to that earlier on the next council meeting in September to address the design for that, but this is going to cover the cost of that construction. The next units are just utility vehicles that need to be replaced due to over mileage, parts you can't get anymore. We have a 2009 vehicle, 2011, and a 2003 vehicle that are all going to be replaced with these units here. We also have a Bobcat that is basically unrepairable, and so that is going to replace that aspect. We put that on last year's budget, but I wanted to make sure we had the right resources and the right people to use that equipment. I evaluated and that is something that we need, but we're not going to be using two full skid steers. So one is going to be replaced and the other one's going to be used until we don't need it anymore. Then the other one is the salt barn lighting. Whenever we do the snow removal, we're only using the lights on the trucks, which is kind of a safety hazard. So I'm wanting to put outside lights to be able to see where we load and unload the salt for the snow removal process. Currently, the fleet does not have an exhaust system. Whenever they park cars inside the garage during the winter, they have to connect hoses manually and stick that hose outside. This will actually address that issue, so it'll be automatic, you know, like you go into the Ford or Chevy dealerships, they have the hose that they can hook down and hook to it, and it's automatically done. This is what that's going to address in that aspect. Also, the stormwater improvement on 54th and Woodson, that was budgeted this year, but due to some evaluation during the design, they weren't addressing all the issues. So we've kind of expanded the scope a little bit. So we're going to design this year and then construct next year. But we're going to try to complete the 83rd portion that was budgeted this year. Any questions on the capital portion? Okay. On to Public Works General Fund. When you look on page 11, you automatically notice that we've increased $242,000 in expenses. Now, this is mainly due to the salary increase. The salary increase is about $235,000. That includes salary, benefits, and a little bit of overtime expenditures that have happened throughout the year. So with that, there's not a whole lot of difference between last year and this year. There are some different line items that you'll probably identify that have increased throughout the year or through the line items. Some notes that I've kind of picked out. We've increased $50,000 in the light expenditures. We're trying to increase all the lights throughout the city, and we've given Evergy a list of lights that need to be installed throughout the city. I'm hoping to get this as a presentation. I haven't got set forth with Zach on that yet, but hopefully we'll get a presentation, let you know the process. It's not something that we can just say, okay, we want 500 lights right here in front of you. So they're going to have to they have to design it. There's going to be different steps that have to be going forth in that process. So that's one thing that is increased. You'll see that increase within the next couple of years, but that's also including more lights throughout the city of Raytown. Another one you will see is $25,000 for technical support for CityWorks. CityWorks is one of our work order programs that helps us with different maintenance, preventive maintenance, and reactivity for work orders. It is something that Public Works is using immensely now. That's how we communicate with our personnel and have them directed to do all their work orders. We are going to be giving you a presentation to address the concerns for CityWorks, and hopefully that will calm some of your nerves of the cost that coincides with CityWorks. But this is something that I might not have chosen this program, but I definitely would have brought something similar to this to the city of Raytown if you guys did not have it. It is something that most municipalities are doing currently, and this is something that they keep data, and it allows you to have better reactivity and data for better decisions for you guys. This $25,000 is just for technical support. We currently finished our 3-year contract with Timmons for the implementation. So right now we do not have any technical support with that. We finished up our last payment with them as of 8/8. So we're totally complete with that Timmons contract. So this next year will have us, if we have any issues, this will cover those tech support issues. We don't expect to use all 25,000, but we just need to have that in the budgets in case we need to use it. As far as preventive maintenance, we have tank clean out. If you've also noticed that natural gas has risen, so I'm just reflecting what our natural causes were of this year to reflect for next year. Last year, we helped out the city of, not the city, Raytown Water Company in their water cuts. So there is a revenue that reflects that cost. So that's not something that we just gave to them. We told them that we would pay it up front and then they had to pay us back for it. So that you'll see the expense on our line item, but we also have a revenue resource on that aspect as well. And then we also have a tools and cleaning supply. That's just the increase with within Public Works, trying to keep up with the costs and the tools that we have that we use from day to day. So those are kind of like the highlights that I have for general work for the general fund. Any questions?
Mr. Bill Van Busker.
Just a comment. I've always been a proponent of and advocate of adding lights. The big holdup has been needed revenue, and which has always been a problem. But I'm thank you for addressing this much needed improvement in our city. It'd be very important to our citizens.
It's a big giant project for Evergy, and I think it'll definitely help the residents of the city. And we've addressed all the requests from the citizens, as well as some of the areas that we think that more lights need to be in that area. So it's not just the citizens that we reacted, but we also did our own internal thought process on that. And I think it was, I don't want to lie to you. I don't know, but it's a lot of lights.
Thank you, sir.
Better than what we could have gotten years ago when they basically said they wouldn't do it. So really appreciate that.
Well,
Miss Mims and then Miss Garza.
I honestly want to thank you for addressing the breakdown on City Works. 'Cause
You're welcome.
There's been a lot of stuff going back and forth of what we were gonna get out of it and how it was gonna benefit us. And you
I can't wait to give the demonstration, because it really is a powerful tool, and the way that we utilize it. I didn't realize our operations supervisor was using this tool in it. I was like, whoa, this is awesome. So it really does help us address lingering requests that citizens have, and so we don't have things slipping through the cracks.
And the other one was when you addressed about the lights. That's something that's been going on for years. Decades. Thank you. And that was another thing, and people kept thinking that we was gonna find money somewhere to address it. So you've addressed, and I hope they're listening, that something that has come up and it's been discussed so many times, and now you're putting, what is it coming to fruition and getting it done. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I did say Evergy, I meant KCP&L was the one that we had trouble with trying to get that done years ago. So didn't want to call out the wrong people. Ms. Garza.
Thank you. I have a question. So on the city work stuff, because it's listed here twice, I was just trying to figure out.
One of them is the actual cost for the program.
Okay.
And then
25,000.
that's just, no, that the 25,000 is the technical support.
Okay. So the other one is just the contraction.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And that is split up between different departments. So we have Public Works, sanitary sewer, and parks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Ms. Emerson.
I do have a question about the national conferences.
Yes,
You said one was in Minnesota and one was in Chicago. You want $4,000 just to register. Is this correct?
$1,000 for registration for the convention, and hotel and airfare is going to cover the rest portion of it. So that's basically a $2,000 check. So one of the
But then
courses.
you've got meals and travels down here at 4,200 also. So you're looking at $8,200 to just go to Chicago and to Minnesota.
It's actually three. So we have one going to Indianapolis. We have another one that's going to be attending the snow convention that's going to be here in KC. And then we have another one that's going to be heading to Chicago that is required part of his leadership requirements.
All righty. That just seems like quite a bit of money. Okay.
Now, just to be clear, we did kind of give it a little bit more than what we thought, because I've checked to see on the cost on those so I could be more precise. But they have not given out the costs on that. But I'm not expected to use all of that. I'm only going to use what is actually given in those regards.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Rob.
All right. Off to the transportation sales tax. So on the sales transportation tax, some things to highlight on that one is we've increased the curb and sidewalk maintenance program. Currently, we only have about $20,000 worth of repairs, which we've kind of almost already hit already. We've been getting a lot of requests for that, and I would love to address those issues. So unfortunately, we do not have the manpower or knowledge to do that at this time. So we have to contract that out. And so that does create a higher cost than just doing the regular cost of concrete. I hope you guys have noticed the Donaldson construction that's been happening through town. I hope you guys have liked that new product. So we've included that in the pressure pavement program. So that's going to be applied to next year with that added to that budget. And then we've also added $1 million to the street maintenance program, to which we have not identified just yet, but definitely we want to mill and overlay instead of the U-Boss. U-Boss only does about a 1/2 inch. A mill and overlay is actually a 2-inch product. And so that way the road lasts a little bit longer than normal. Our expectation is to hit one of the major fairways in that aspect. But again, we haven't identified that just yet. We're still looking at preliminary areas for that.
Ms. Emerson.
Thank you. I just want to say that I've had a number of residents let me know how very, very pleased they were with south of Northern, the work that you did, how you put the hangers out, how you told them we'll only do so much, we'll let you in and out. And they were very, very ecstatic about that.
Well, I just want you to know, when I talked to Donaldson Construction, they said they have never been in a community that has been so pleased and so easy to get along with. They want to come back. They just said, this place is just so nice. I just can't believe it. So it was very nice to hear. It was very nice. It was very nice to hear. So kudos to our citizens that for our construction companies, and everybody was very pleasant in trying to interrupt their day.
Anyone else?
I did. That's the 500,000. Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Azure.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have kind of a fishing question, and it is a budgetary item, not for this year, but I was noticing a project over in Prairie Village that is a massive, it's got to be a multi-million-dollar project. And I'm assuming that project is street repair. I mean, they have neighborhoods closed off. They can't even drive out of the driveway. But what's really interesting is that surely it has to be federal money. And I'm wondering about the future. I've noticed, or I felt anyway, that you're very innovative. Your homework. I think you're good at what you do. And one of the projects that we've never addressed, and I don't think I've ever really thought about addressing, maybe we dreamed about it, it's Woodson Avenue. I know that's not all of Raytown, but part of it is, and especially I think the northern areas. But if in the future we could possibly look for federal money, that's a project that we don't talk about because it's not nearly as immense as the Prairie Village one, which is being done almost just in a one block area. But certainly it warrants the danger of the curves and so we can't ever address that as a city. It's going to take maybe more than we could even get from the state. But from my personal feeling, it is Ward 2. I'd like for us to maybe at least consider, look into it. The only way that we're ever going to be able to do that is with really a sizable grant. But I do think it's warranted. And if you've driven up and down it, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
We have one particular curve where when they drive off of it, they got to be fished up by a tow truck. And it happens pretty regularly. So it's not imaginary, it's a big deal. So something that maybe if you could use your talents to look into, I'd appreciate it.
All right, will do.
Yeah, I actually have Alderman Asia. We did preliminary design and submitted for a grant a couple of years ago. And the one you're talking about, Prairie View, it is partially federally funded. A lot of the Kansas, so you go through Mark, which we had our staff meet with Mark about less than a month ago to talk about the grant opportunities. And that was one of the projects we submitted. It did not score as high. We're hoping that it's connection with the Rock Island Trail because they like to use connectivity as part of your scoring criteria. And then our connectivity with Kansas City because Woodson goes through Kansas City back to Raytown. And it did not score as high this past time. But it also was one of the ones that we put on our, when we had the bonding as one of the major projects. I think this is probably about a couple of years ago. It's probably close to 8 million for construction. I'm sure that's substantially more now. But when you talk about the storm improvements and things of that sort, and then the pedestrian items. So yeah, this project has been, I like what you said about dream. I try not to dream about projects, but it is one of those we've been looking at trying to do for quite some time. So.
Thank you.
One thing I do want people to know, I did ask, have this question asked a couple of times. Number one, I had a lot of calls too, that they were very happy with whatever, all the things that they see us doing. Two, I want everybody to understand this wasn't done by somebody's politics, somebody's area, or anything like this. You all did a scientific study again to check the degradation of the roads. So some of this stuff that we're using is for roads that can be saved. Some of it that we're going to be doing is for roads that need a little bit more work, and then the mill and overlay for those that are even getting worse. But again, we've got 40% that need to be dug up and replaced, and that didn't happen because of the bonds not passing. However, I do sit on the Total Transportation Policy Committee for Mark. I'm always keeping my eye out for whatever we can grab up, and they usually are sending stuff down there. They're doing a real good job about doing that. It's just things are just really crazy and tight right now. And of course, there's some big major projects they're trying to fund. And so fighting for what is smaller is a little bit difficult, but that's how we got the $600,000 to help with that bridge, was through that Total Transportation Column. So I appreciate you saying that, because I do keep my eye on those things, and these guys really have done a great job of making sure they apply for everything they can. So hopefully we'll snag some of that. So, Mr. Van Busker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do want to say that I've had nothing but positive comments from the public related to the road work that's been done, and it's very much appreciated. I want you to know that. And it's done in such an expedient manner relative to the old project. I think people are very happy with that.
Yeah.
And the results are commendable. Also, as far as Woodson Road, and Mr. Asia brought that up, you know, I think that would probably be a great route for all student drivers and maybe people that are taking their driver's test to probably, if they can maneuver Woodson Road and not one of those ditches, and I think they should pass it, probably be successful. Anyway, thank you.
What else do you have? Of course, sometimes some of the older ones get off the road too.
I have two more budgetary items. Second to last is the stormwater fund. As you know, we've been working diligently on the 59th Street project that's out here in front, 59th and Raytown Road. Currently, we are working on the last part of design on that. We submitted the designs to Mark for them to look over for the last finalization. So we're almost there on the completion of design. The one thing that will be holding us up is easements. So if you guys know anybody in that area, we'd be greatly appreciated if you would help us collect those easements. Some of those are temporary easements. Some of those are permanent easements. They are required by law to be able to have the opportunity to purchase that easement if they choose desire. They can also donate it if they choose to do so. But we have about 27 easements that we need. Currently, we have about 5. So before we can go any further on this project, we have to collect all the easements. So that's where we are at this time on that project. We're just trying to collect easements and trying to get people to address our letters and our phone calls. And sometimes that person might not be the person that owns the house that's living there. So trying to track down those people is quite difficult. But currently that's where we're at on the design project. But if you look here on the stormwater fund, you actually see the construction costs. So we're hoping to start in November/December on that project. Hopefully we'll get everything finished by then. If you look, the cost that the city of Raytown needs to have is $1,850,000. Now with the grant portion, even though that we're given money, we still have to have that money up front to pay them back. So we've put in the cost of $4,314,660, but that money will be reimbursed to the city. So even though you see it as an expense on my part, it is part of the revenue on the other part. And I talked about earlier about the 54th and Woodson project. This is the other portion of that. So I've kind of split up the costs in 2 different areas for that. And that's my stormwater fund project. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions? Ms. Emerson?
Thank you. I have one question, but this is back to the Transportation Sales Tax Fund. The KCATA has gone up astronomically. And I know that North Kansas City has told them they're not interested anymore. And so we need to take a look at that because they really don't do a lot for Raytown. And so that's just something we might think about. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Hayden?
The easement that you said that you're looking at, is that 59th and Raytown Road along that?
Along 59th Street from Raytown Parkway to Raytown Road, and then also from Raytown Road to Blue Ridge Boulevard. And then from 59th Street all the way down to the library. Those are all the areas that we need easements for.
Yeah, pretty much an L shape. If you start down here at Raytown Road and go up in front of City Hall, then make a turn and go straight up the road.
Yeah, there's been a lot of Band-Aids put on all that over the years.
Yeah, I mean,
Mr. Walters.
Yes, if you could give me a list of those that you need.
Okay.
A good chunk of that's in my ward and I know a lot of them personally, so I might be able to help you.
Okay.
Ms. Garza?
Yeah, the question I had, Ms. Hayden asked, so.
All right. Anybody else? We only got 15 more minutes. What else? You got anything else?
Just the sewer.
Okay.
Just a bunch of stinky stuff.
And just to go back to Alderwoman Emerson's, we are working with KCATA to look at options there. For the most part, we just double what we had last year based off of what we've seen trending wise. Like she mentioned, North Kansas City's had an issue along with other cities. So you're correct. We're going to definitely talk to them and continue trying to see what we can do negotiation wise to see what's best for our citizens and bring it to you all.
Okay. Ms. Garza.
Kind of tying into that, Mr. Hodges, I know that even like the city, I think of Gladstone and Riverside are pushing towards Isurus is the new one that they're using with KCATA. So
It's like our own demand service.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're talking a little bit more about that today in a meeting about the Iris. So, yeah. Still kind of in the air right now, but. Okay, anyone else? All right, continue on, sir.
For the sewer program, there is about $172,000 from last year to this, from increase from last year to this year. $55,000 of it is salary increase, but we also have some increase in projects. Again, there is some education that coincides with that, and that's my trip to the sewer conference and to the snow conference. But on the projects, we have the sanitary sewer, Wildwood North. Currently, we're doing Wildwood South. You guys approved that shortly after I arrived. And we are, they've done some lining already, but they're getting ready to replace manholes and spot repairs. This we currently have designed. We're working on the design and should be ready to go forth for construction starting in November, December. We have completed design for the 87th Street wastewater detention basin. That currently, when we first went into design, we thought we had to make it bigger, but during the design and survey, we figured out that the sewer lines were actually plugged up rather than needing a bigger basin. So all this is basically repair the basin and digging out all the trees and putting some concrete there so trees don't grow back to where they are right now. So that's what that project is for. Again, we talked about the dog park. We currently have a wastewater line that goes through the creek, and it is currently lined, but a liner is about 1/8 of an inch. And if anything hits that, we're in deep trouble. So our thought is before the dog park is built, we move the sewer line so we don't have that issue in the creek anymore. So that's why that is there, and that's kind of why that's moved up to the top of our priority list for the sewer. We're also, because of that same sewer line, there's 2 sewer lines that go parallel along the creek. We want to design to where the sewer line is no longer in the creek. We cannot clean out that sewer line. It used to be a forced main that went from north to south, but now it's a gravity from south to north, and you can't clean it that way. And there's only, I think it's more than 1,000 feet between manhole and manhole, and we don't have the equipment to clean that out regularly. So again, it's a matter of time before that is an issue. We fortunately have not had an issue with that, but that's why we need to design and fix that. We applied for a grant last year to get that fixed, but we were denied, but we still need to go forward and fix that or have a design to replace that. Any questions on the sewer?
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it. Michael Graham, you got 10 minutes. For a half hour. For a half hour program, right? Good evening. Don't forget to turn on there.
Good evening. So I can do this in 2 minutes if you want.
Good.
Name that budget. All right. So the first part of it is finance, and this is the general fund itself. Wages and salaries basically are a little lower than last year. We've had a couple people come in lower than what we had budgeted. And I think we'll probably hit that amount, but we are, any of the numbers you've heard tonight or last time we were here, they're all fluid at the moment. I mean, they're set, but we're going to go back through and analyze everything that's inside of each area, so we make sure everything is correct. This is one of those areas, but we're right on with it, I think. Supplies, services, and charges, that's about a $18,000 gain. One of the big impact items is the audit. This year, our audit contract expired. It had been around for a while, so I'm going to put it on the street to see what we get. I did increase the amount slightly, about $2,000 or $5,000 actually. I know for certain that the market's probably a little higher than this because they're having trouble getting staff members for the audit firm. So maybe coming back to you for a little bit more money if I have to. The other key items are basically flat as far as the various areas are concerned. One of the areas I wanted to point out real fast that we've included is that on the capital expenditures. In the center, we've got a printer replacement for $10,000. We've currently got a heavy printer we've had for about 12 years, and the client decided to quit, and there's no parts in America, I guess, used or real now. So we're out to search for a copy of that. The other thing is the budget software. What you guys are using or seeing today is Excel. And that's fine as long as you keep your links and as long as you don't hard code something that's got an address or a summation of some kind that's drawn from another cell like that. So we're starting to look. We put $30,000 in the budget. I'm not sure how that's going to turn out, but we definitely will come back to you when it's time to buy the software itself. And evidently for years they've used the Excel versions, which is fine until you try to go back sometimes and identify where the data is at or how that data ties back into particular areas. This software itself that we end up getting will actually tie everything together. We're going to do historical looks real quick or quickly. It also will interface with our business systems, which is another key thing because we spend a lot of time building tables. We spend a lot of time cleaning up stuff where this will just draw right out of the system itself. As far as finance, that's the main piece on that one. Any questions? All right. My next area is the TIF fund. The biggest components of this is related to on the expense side, the debt service payment, which this year goes up slightly, and also the interest related to the debt service. One of the other larger items is the TIF developer reimbursement. These are costs that were identified when the developer came in and improved the area. And we've certified those costs, and by the contract that we had when we built the TIF, we're obligated on area 2 to pay so much back, and this is one of the portions that we're paying back to the developer. Any questions on this one?
Nope, go ahead.
Next area is the capital improvement fund revenue. Capital improvement fund. This is basically from the Dexler CID. It's been dormant for a little bit. No activity. We've got a minor amount of $15,000 on an annual basis for program saves, and professional services went up slightly related to the projects itself. But basically $18,700 or $18,950 is about the only expense we'll see running through. One of the pages before these showed the revenue was coming in, and actually was drawing more revenue by about $100,000. So this fund actually has got 1.4 million in it, and it's actually increasing because the debt or the expense doesn't decrease much of anything. Our next item is, are there any questions on that one? Okay.
Don't see any.
Business fund finance always puts you to sleep usually. So my last one actually is the sewer fund. Rob showed you his side of it, and now I'm going to show you mine. Basically on the sewer funds themselves, both public works and finance, use a percentage of their employees for each one of them. I've got 2 full-time clerks that actually handle sewers. The sewer charges monthly. But also we have some staff time from the myself and the comptroller and the treasury assistant that we actually do work with the sewer fund itself. So that's passed over too. So in combination of the personal services here and the personal services in finance makes the whole of the finance department. The key other major expenses on this one is the fees that we pay for sewer treatment to Little Blue Valley and Kansas City, Missouri Water. The other high expense or higher expense on this is the debt payments that we have for the state funding. We've got 3 outstanding debt items, and you can see the payment on the debt this year. Also, there's related interest expense like any other debt that we may have. And that's it in a nutshell for sewer.
Anyone? Wait a minute, Ms. Emerson decided she had one.
I did have one question about the bad debt expense.
Yes,
That's $60,000.
yes.
What does that entail?
So anytime somebody is delinquent for a long time and they're probably moved out of the city, we keep it on record, but we take it off the books. And the individuals usually range of some kind has just left the area. But we've had instances recently where individuals came back to town. Their name was on the sewer account previously. We collected it, the funds again. But annually, 60,000 is about right for the amount of debt or delinquencies we have.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I believe that's it. Thank you. All right. They have a motion for adjournment from this
So move.
Ms. Mims, second by Ms. Letha Hayden. Do this by affirmation. Everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Okay, we are going to be adjourned from this meeting at 6:58 PM.